Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my respected lecturers. Today I will be discussing my proposed study, but before that, let me introduce myself first. My name is Prasita Keizha Divany, with the student number is 158, and from 2023 A class. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present my proposal here in this video. And this video is to fulfill the final exam project of research methodology and academic writing 2023 A class. Here, my proposed study entitled English as the Dominant Language, Retention Patterns in Simultaneous and Sequential Bilingual Children. So without any further ado, let's move to the table of contents first. Here there are several points that need to be discussed. First one is Chapter 1, Introduction, Chapter 2, Literature Review, Chapter 3, Research Method, and last one is References. Moving on to the Chapter 1, Introduction, Background. This study stems from the observation that English is no longer just a foreign language, but it is a global language that is now dominating in our daily communication, like our daily life and so on and so forth, and especially in the semi-nomadic bilingual families. In such a families, children are often exposed to multiple languages. But however, due to the global importance of English, many children start using English more frequently than their mother language, which is, it may reduce their ability to retain their heritage language, such as Indonesian, Japanese, Sundanese, and so on and so forth. So this raises concerns. If children lose their native languages, it may impact their cultural identity, of course, the way they communicate with older generations, and how they see their own heritage. So the study in this study focuses on two key research questions. First one is, what are the differences exist in English dominant usage between simultaneous and sequential bilingual children? And the second one is, how does using English as the dominant language affect bilingual children's retention of English? There are also objectives of these two research questions. For the first research question it is to determine the patterns of English dominance usage between simultaneous and sequential bilingual children, but it is also focusing on the factors that influencing these differences to contribute to their English dominance. And for the second one is to assess the impact of English as a dominant language on the retention of both English and heritage languages among bilingual children. The next one is the scope and delimitation. This research will focus on two Sundanese children in the semi-nomadic family, of course, aged 12 and 15 from the semi-nomadic family, as I mentioned before. The data will be taken from their language use at home, at school, and online visits. And also the parents and the caregivers will also be interviewed as other data. And it is important to know that this is a case study, not a generalization, but the results will be deeply focused but not statically broad. After we know the scope and delimitation, we are moving on to the Chapter 2, the Literature Review. So this study is supported by several theories from well-known scholars. For the first one is bilingualism and language dominance. Bilingualism refers to the ability of an individual to use languages proficiently. It is according to Gershon 2010. Bilingualism is not simply the sum of two monolingual relationships, but rather an integrated system influenced by context and function. And the next one, we have a family language policy. used Polski 2004 to talk about family language policy or FLP, the strategies families use to choose which language are spoken at home. And then there are also the language retention and shift in bilingual youth. Language retention refers to the ability to maintain a heritage or minority language over time. And this research used thesis 1991 to introduce the idea of language shift, where minority languages disappear because people stop using them. And the next one is the semi-nomadic family. It's based on Smith 2010 that highlights how mobility and digital environments can reduce children's contact with their native language. In short, children's language retention depends on more than just ability. It's influences by several factors. And we move to the chapter 3, which is method. First one, to know, this is a qualitative case study, meaning this research will observe and interview real people to understand their real experience in that. And as I mentioned before, the participant is 2 children from a Sudanese semi-nomadic family, and also their parents will also be involved to understand language transitions in the family. And moving on to this data sources. This research will observe and collect data for the 3 main areas like home, family, conversations, casual speech, and schools, and social environment. 3 is digital media. And data collection techniques. This research used 2 primary techniques for data collections. There are observations and interview. Okay, so for the observation, this research will watch how the children use language at home, of course, and it will know which language they choose in different contexts and with different people, and also the reactions and corrections from family members. And for the instruments, an observation checklist and field notes will be used to track the language skills, frequency, and code switching behavior. And for the interview one, it is to interview both children and parents, and also caregivers. And the questions will explore preferences, emotional connections to language and family language rules. And for this instrument, an interview guide with open-ended questions tailored to each informant, the children and the parents, of course, and the interviews will be recorded with consent and transcribed for analysis. We're moving on to the data collection procedure. As I mentioned before, it is using observation and interview. For the first one is initial contact and consent with the parents, and then after that, the observation phase. After that, the interview phase, and last but not least is analyze the data. So for the data analysis, the analysis will follow the thematic coding steps as Mem Ayunita and Pak Slamet has already mentioned in our class. First one is data condensation. We reading all the data multiple times to find the important points. And for the next one is data presentation, data interpretation, and last but not least is to conclude all of the research in this study. Well, I guess that's all from me. This is the references that I use for this study, for this research later on. So I guess that's it from me. I hope that this one can help parents, educators, and many people in outside to support their children in maintaining both global and cultural identities through language. So I guess thank you so much. Thank you for your attention. And yep, I am now ready to receive any questions, suggestions, or feedback from the Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.